Hi everybody. So today I'd like to show you how to take a small motion builder sequence and export it to Unreal Engine. This scene is really short, just for testing purposes. I'm just gonna play it now so you guys can have an idea what it looks like. Again, it's super simple. It includes 2 characters, 2 cameras, and just about 6 seconds of animation. So the assets that I use are from Motionbuilder sample folder. You can find almost everything um, in the tutorials, I believe, somewhere here. If you can find it, please let me know. The Motionbuilder used to ship with a clip art folder, which includes other assets in there. I can probably send you the link if you're interested in these assets, but you could use any characters. You can build it in Motionbuilder. It doesn't have to be these ones. Um, if you'd like to build something like this as well in Motionbuilder, it's already built just to show you the transfer, but if you like to build this yourself in Motionbuilder, I have a previous video from one of the classes at Dawson College, so if you type in this search in YouTube, you will get a video of how to build a similar scene from scratch, from these assets, and build something similar. The content is a little bit different, but it's still 2 characters interacting with each other, and a couple of cameras as well. It's a similar idea. Again, please don't pay attention to the quality. It's just this video is just to show you the techniques how to take it from Motionbuilder or Maya and put it in Unreal. So before I start showing you how to export the set, the characters, and the camera, I'd just like to point out how you should prepare the kind of the objects and have a proper hierarchy to export it to Unreal. What we like to do, this is kind of a pipeline from games, is each of the exported assets has a parent hierarchy. So if you, for example, if you look in the, if you open up, go in the navigator inside Motionbuilder, open up the scene, you will see Pepe is one of the characters. I'll show you what it looks like. This is the blue guy, the blue alien. Gaunt is the other alien, which is the this guy. And if you look in this one here, those are the 2 cameras. If you look at this one, so this is the parent node for all the buildings in this scene. So if I move this around, all the environment will move. So the reason I took all the pieces of the environment and made a parent node is it's going to be easier to export from Motionbuilder and build it back in Unreal. So just keep that in mind. Always have, don't export piece by piece. Obviously, it's going to take you a longer time. So have one parent node and just export that with the scene to Unreal. So It's easier for selection, because what you could do, if you can select the parent, right click and select branches, and it will select all the children underneath that parent. So this way you don't have to worry about selecting each piece. So it's handy to have that parent. With this set comes some lights as well. It really doesn't matter for now. You can export the lights, but some of the light attributes might not get transferred to Unreal, so you would have to go in and tweak it in Unreal. You can still export it as is. We don't have to go through each object right now. So I'm gonna export the environment. Save selection. You go File, Save Selection. I already have exported it before for testing purposes, so I'm just gonna overwrite the existing one. When you do export from Motionbuilder, make sure you have embed media, because what that will do, it will embed the images, which is the textures assigned to the environment. So just make sure you have that selected, and then click Save. Yes. We don't need to save any takes, so there's no animation needed with the environment. So you could just click on the top thing here to deactivate, or you could just go uncheck them. Export it into that folder. Now what you could do, I would like to explain something else that could help with the organization of the scene is when you have the environment selected, I created a small group called City, which is the environment. And what this helps with is just organization. So just in case you want to see the characters by themselves, or you want to see the camera by itself, you could just go in groups, create a group. So let's say this. I'll call it layout or environment, if you want to call it. Environment. I might have spelled it wrong. Something like that. So it's just to keep it organized. So then what you could do is you have three options here: show, pick, and translate. Translation rotation scale. So I usually like to disable translation rotation scale, and I don't want to pick it, so I don't want to select it by accident. And show is it just hides, shows and hides the environment. Okay, so I'll show you what the pick does. So if I have the pick on, you can select the pieces by mistake. So I just like to kind of freeze selection the pieces, freeze select it. So I don't select it by mistake, because I'm not going to be animating the environment per se. So now I'm ready to export the characters. I have a take here called T-pose, which is the characters just in T-pose. It's the same principle pretty much. Always have the skeleton underneath should have a parent node as well. So what I mean by that is, if you look, it should be, just give me a second, it should be this one. So if you look at the hierarchy of the skeleton of Pepe, the blue alien, he has the root node, which is the parent for all the skeleton. second. I'm not sure why it's not showing the skeleton. Oh, there we go. Oh, probably was in this viewport. So the parent node is at 0, 0. This is again super important when you place the character in Unreal. Everything needs a reference to 0, 0. 0, 0, 0, X, Y, Z. So make sure you have that in your skeleton, skeleton setup. And then after the root is the biped, which is the pelvis. There's two. Yeah, every skeleton is going to be set up differently. That's the character that came with Motionbuilder. So it's not necessary to have this bone, but that's how it's was set up with this character. So what I need to emphasize is you need that root bone, which is technically in the characterization of the character. It's this bone right here. Okay, so it has to be present to be able to build it properly. Okay, so I'm gonna export this character as another FBX, so I can bring it into Unreal separately. So select the root. Again, same thing as I did with the environment. Select branches. I'm missing the mesh. So what I'm going to do is I had previously created a Pepe mesh, which is this one. So I'm just going to put the select or pick on so I can select it with the joints, with the skeleton. Okay. Select branches, and now I press Control and I select the mesh as well. So now I have the hierarchy of the skeleton and Pepe selected, which is the skin with all the skinning weights and everything. Okay. File, save selection, same thing. I'm going to choose Pepe T-pose, embed media again, and save. Again, I'm not exporting an animation yet, so I'm just gonna check off the takes and see. I'm gonna be doing the same thing with Gaunt, which is the other character. Gaunt mesh, I'm gonna put it on. And then I go to Gaunt root. I'll show you the hierarchy as well. He's a bit more complex than Pepe. He has extra bones. Let me switch to Gaunt. Oh, okay. So he has a couple of extra bones in here, the collar and this thing, and he has a bit of facial, not that much, like just a couple of bones in the face. So he's a bit bigger, but it's still the same. Pretty much the same setup or process to export it. So Gaunt root, right click, select branches. So if you notice, his hierarchy is set up a little bit differently. His mesh is underneath the root, so it actually selected the mesh as well, which is kind of a plus. We could have done probably the same thing with Pepe, but like I said, I just used it as this. You can actually export it right now. So go File, because you have the joints and you have the skin selected. So we can go File, Save Selection, Gaunt T-pose. Yes. No animation. Save. Okay, So now we have the environment, the two characters in T-pose with no animation yet export. I'm gonna switch back to the take where the animations existed. All right. And switch back to the cameras to see them. Obviously the buildings are hidden, so I'm gonna unhide them. And then I'm gonna play back the animation. So right now, something weird is not displaying the control rig. Let's see, did I? Oh, there we go. Okay. So now I'm ready to export the animation, but the thing is, in Unreal, they don't detect the control rig because the control rig is not exported. The control rig, as you know, is part of Motionbuilder, not part of Unreal. So what we need to do is take the animation that's on the control rig for Pepe and bake it down to the skeleton, you know, the skeleton that we just exported in T-pose. So we need the animation to be present on the skeleton. So it's really easy. You just need to go to the character button. It's called the blue button here. So right now this character is being controlled by its own control rig. So we just need to go bake to skeleton. I always like to choose the 3 dots. Make sure 30 FPS is on. If you have constant key reducer, I will remove it because sometimes it messes with the keys. So this way you know it's just a key on every frame. And just keep everything else by default. And plot. So what that did is it took the keys and baked it down on the skeleton. Okay. So now we're ready to export that skeleton with the animation on it. Way to do that is, again, we select Pepe root, which is the top node. As you can see, the root is not moving at all because it's at 0, 0. I'll actually show you in perspective where it is. So the root is not animated. Everything else, pelvis is animated. See, he's moving, but the root doesn't animate. That's why we need the root at 0, 0, which is reference once we import it into Unreal. Reference where it is, where he is in the world. Okay, so Pepe, right click, select branches. So it should now select only the skeleton, which has the animation on it. And then save selection. What do we call this one? We call it Pepe NM. So my naming conventions now are super simple, but if you have multiple shots and multiple sequences, I would probably name it to the name of the sequence. But for now, let's just keep it simple. I'll just call it Pepe Anim, so we know that it's Pepe's animation. Super simple. No need to complicate naming conventions. Pepe Anim, save, yes. So now we're exporting an animation. Which take you are, you need to save that take, right? So you don't need take 1 and you don't need T-pose. You only need take 2. Save. We'll do the same with Gaunt. I'll switch back to the camera switcher. So right now, Gaunt is being controlled by the control rig, right? Yeah, so here it is, the control rig is there. And we do the same thing, bake, skeleton, 3 dots. It should already save what you did previously. So, but I always like to choose 3 dots just to see the options. Okay, so now it's baked to the skeleton, so we are ready to export Gaunt as well. So Gaunt root, right? Yeah. Right click, select branches. Okay, so here it selected the mesh. We don't need to export the mesh. So what I would do is just deselect the mesh from the export. You don't, don't really need to do it, but because there is options in the engine in Unreal to not import the mesh another time, because the mesh or the skin already exists in the T-pose, so you don't really need to export it again. But just to keep the files light, I'm just gonna deselect it. There is another piece here, which is like kind of a backpack he has. I believe it's somewhere here. We could just go. Okay, let's see. You have to be. The camera has to be facing the mesh, so you don't select something else. There's the eyeballs too. I believe it's here, so you just need to select. So now only the skeleton is selected. So in cases like this, where you have, let's say, multiple takes you want to export, I highly recommend if you don't want to deselect the meshes every time, you can create a group in here to always select the skeleton, animated skeleton that you want to export, right? So you can go create Gaunt anim selection, let's say. Okay, so now what you, let's say you have another take, another shot. Instead of doing you know, this and deselecting the mesh again, you could just select the group and boom, you have just the selection of the animation that you want to export, selection of the joints. Anyways, it's extra things to make your life easier. You don't have to do it, but it's an extra tip. So now we can, we can export the Gaunt animation. I think I lost mine. Just want to check if he's camera switcher, if he's animated, right? Yeah, so he's moving, jumps down, gets kicked in the groin. Save selection and Gaunt anim. Same thing. Uncheck take 1, keep take 2, save selection. So what's left? We exported the characters, the buildings, and only thing left is the cameras. So we have 2 cameras. camera 1, which is the first shot. See here it says switcher camera 1, and then we have camera 2, which is a little panning as he gets kicked in the ground. So this is super easy. You just select the cam, which is here. You don't need to select the interest because the cam, the translation rotation is on the cam. Save selection. Cam 1. I named it Polish 4 because that's the name of the scene, so I know, because I had multiple iterations. So again, your cam naming conventions should be following the shots and the sequences that you have. So cam 1, take 2, cam 2, file, save selection, polish, cam 2. All right, so that's it for the export part. Now we can start building it in Unreal. So for Unreal, you need an Epic account first if you want to get the engine. Epic Game, Epic Unreal. So yeah, if you just need to create an account and you download the basically a kind of a client, which is the sort of like the Steam app. So it's called Epic, the Epic Launcher. It should be, I believe, yeah, Epic Games Launcher, right? So that's what you need to launch the engine. Obviously, you need to download it. So the Epic Launcher is just like Steam. There's the store. Sorry, my computer is a little old, maybe 5-6 years old, so it's a bit slow sometimes. So yeah, store. Once you are ready to work with Unreal, just go in the Unreal Engine and download the latest version. I've been working with it for a while, so I have an older 4.24, but the latest is 4.26. So I'm going to show you how with the latest engine. But the nice thing about Unreal is it allows you to download multiple versions. So if you click on this one, you could choose which version do you want. You know, if you want to follow the release notes of per engine, you can have multiple versions of the engine. Keep in mind that if you do, let's say, work with 4.26 and you're doing a project, if there's a new version, normally it should transfer your project should transfer to the new engine automatically. But I highly recommend keeping the version of the engine that you did your project with. An example, I have my test projects in 4.24, and it says here, right? All these here, my projects, it says which version of engine I used. So keep that version of the engine locally, just in case if you try to open it with a new version, something goes bizarre. You still have a backup of the old. Because if you don't have Perforce, which is like a source control version source control software, this is the preferable way of working, just in case something doesn't transfer to the new versions. Anyways, so this is the latest. After you download, it takes a while, so it's a big file, it's a big download. Click on launch. I'm gonna keep Motionbuilder running. I'm just gonna minimize it. Okay. So when it loads up your first time, it asks you, you know, do you want to open the older versions? Do you want to open? This is the one I saved 2 days ago with 4.26, but these ones are the old projects I have from 4.24. But let's start fresh. So I'm not going to choose these. I'm going to choose new project category, go with film. Each one they have different templates per project. So I'm going to choose film, television. Next, I'm going to go with the blank. Again, these are templates. Just go with blank. Blank will give you a camera and just a flat plane. They ship with like a starter pack, like a table and 2 chairs. You don't need it necessarily. If your hardware is latest, try to put ray tracing enabled. My PC is a little bit old, so I'm just gonna go disabled. And in here, you could choose, obviously you want to save your project, so just go 4 to 6. The way I have it set up is I have Unreal folder, then projects, and then I have per version of the editor. So I'm currently on 426. I'm just going to create another folder, previs 2. Okay. And select. So now, and just name it whatever. Could name it previs 2 as well. Okay. And create. So yes, if your PC is old and you get this, this is because you don't have I don't have enough memory on my card, on my graphics card, so just click no, it's okay. Things will be a little bit slow on the shader side because of my graphics card. But I'm not gonna do any crazy materials or shaders. The purpose of this video is just to show you how to take your scene from Motionbuilder or Maya and transfer it to Unreal. Yeah, ask you for some plugins. It's okay. Project file is out of date. You'd like to update it? Yes. So it's not bad actually. It's probably because I already did one project with 4.26 and it already shaded, because all the skybox is shaders. There's a bunch of shaders linked to it. So it's probably did that on the first project. Now it's running smoother. Okay, so we have a base setup. We have like a plane and I believe I think this is, yeah, skylight. Okay, so just a quick overview of Unreal, where everything is. So these are just kind of how can I say, like basic setups that come with Unreal, like kind of like what's in Motionbuilder. If you go in asset browser, kind of the samples, if you want to call it, and some kind of basic geometry and basic cameras. You can drag these in pretty much to the scene. We're not going to be touching too much of these. Some of them are a little bit more involved. So I'm probably going to show you mostly what's in the content browser. So if you go in the content browser here, this is the content browser of your project. Okay. You click on show hide here. So your content folder now is pretty empty. There's nothing that you have imported. So this is the content of your project, and here what's actually in the scene, in your scene, in your project, what's actually inside. This comes from the template that we chose earlier, which is the blank template. So you have kind of this is like the outliner in Maya, or the scene navigator in Motionbuilder. Okay, so what's in your scene is this what exists in World Outliner. So you have a bit of fog, you have the floor, light source, which is like just a sun. Player start is, if you click play, you will spawn right where that pivot is, and then you can move around like in first person. I'm using WSD, but you can use the arrow keys as well. The WSDA. You can click escape to get out, go back to the editor. Sky sphere is the skybox, which is the clouds. Skylight, I believe this is the sunlight. They have I'm not really sure what it is. I think it's another light setup, honestly, but we can dig into it after. And sphere reflection capture is probably the sphere around you. If you zoom out. Oh no, I'm not sure what that is. Anyways, keep them in your scene. You're probably gonna use them once you import your scene from Motionbuilder. Okay, so now we're ready to import. Let's say we'll start with the dark city, which is the environment that's called in Motionbuilder. Yeah, the environment that we used. There's two ways of importing things in Unreal. You can go select your folder, import, like this. Yeah, you could do it this way, or you could do it. Okay, so I'm gonna import it here. Import into level, and I'll go to where I exported it, Dawson, Dark City, and it asks you where do you want to import it, right? So you go new folder. The content is the same content folder here. So I'm going to create a new folder called Dark City, and click OK. So in here, it shows you a little bit of what's going to get imported. It shows you all the pieces basically. So even though you had a parent node, Unreal creates another node, which is okay. It's not a big deal as long as um, you have that node on top, because just in case you move one of these pieces by mistake, you still have a parent connected to it, and there's still a reference in the world to it. So you can keep the root node on, or you can just deselect it. I'll keep it on for now, and there's a lot of options. Static meshes is usually anything that's not skinned, like usually environments are static meshes, and anything that's skinned and has weights, which is like a character that has joints and animated, usually that's called a skeletal mesh. Okay, so that's the difference between a static mesh and a skeletal mesh. Materials is anything that's assigned to those pieces here in this in the environment or the dark city. Anything assigned to materials gets imported as well. So click import. And it will import it directly into your project, into your editor. Bunch of probably my naming was a bit off. Don't worry too much about it. Okay. So it shows up grayscale because it's compiling all the shaders. So don't worry too much about it for now. It will sort itself out. When it gets imported, it opens up the actual static mesh object, all the pieces together, right? So I'm just going to close it for now and just go in the engine to see what got imported. Okay, so again, it's a little chuggy because it's compiling the shaders. Once it's done, we'll go back to normal. So if you look at the outliner, see, this is the FBX that gets imported. It's one piece because everything else underneath it is here. So you have the world outliner, but then you have another section here called details with all the pieces separate, see? So everything underneath the root is here. You also have in your content folder, you have the new folder that we created. Yeah, sorry. With each piece separately, okay? So the nice thing about this is, let's say you later on something you want to change in one of the pieces in the environment, you could just export it from Motionbuilder or Maya and just update it, import it like this. Import. You choose the FBX and it will override the piece that's the asset that's in this folder, right? So it is a lot easier to iterate this way. Okay. Okay, so next we can import Pepe. I'll create a folder. You can create a folder here as well. New folder, right click. It's slowing down the whole PC. Pepe. Oh yeah, sorry. So the nice thing about importing from here is it actually puts the object where in the same coordinates as in Motionbuilder. So if you look here, this master dark city in Motionbuilder, it's at 0, 0, right? Translate 0, 0. I'll switch to global so you see. Okay. So it puts it in Unreal with the same coordinates. So you don't have to, if you had imported it in here directly in content, then dragged and dropped all the pieces in here, there might have been an offset on the parent node, but in this case, it's right where it's supposed to be in Motionbuilder. So that's the advantage of using this. For characters, it really doesn't matter because what's going to drive the character is the animation on the joints. So you can import it from here. I'll show you how to import it. So right click on Pepe folder. Okay. Still compiling. Okay, import. We want to import Pepe T-pose, right? We're not ready to import the animation yet. So you're going to get this box. Obviously, it's a skeleton mesh because skeletal mesh means it's going to be animated. It has joints and has weights, it has everything. You want to import the mesh for sure. Import content type. So you want to import the geometry and the skinning weights. Okay, skinning weights is the mesh with all the skin weights assigned to the joints. Don't worry about this. This will cover once we import the animation. I'll show you what it means. Keep everything by default. Import all. It's probably a message. It's okay. The smoothing groups, yeah, it's okay. So what it created a skeletal mesh, obviously. That's the asset. Created a physical, which is the kind of ragdoll pieces, or collisions, if you want to call it. Skeleton is the joints, and a bunch of files for materials. So if you this is I believe it's a material. If you open it up. Yeah, it's a material. It's compiling as well, so it's gonna take a bit of time. I apologize. Soon I'll get a new one. Okay, I'm gonna import Gaunt as well while it's compiling the shaders. Okay. don't. Import. Gaunt typos. Same thing. Keep everything by default. Import all. Again, smoothing groups. It's probably the way it was built. It didn't have any smoothing groups, but it's okay. It's a modeling modeling technique. Okay, so see the shaders are starting to come in. Yeah, I'm gonna stop the video right now and come back once the shaders, because it's a little bit hard to work while the shaders are compiling. Okay, let's do